Hey friends, and welcome to the Happy Hour. My name's Jamie Ivey, and I am your host, and I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for listening. This is episode number 8. So I've done exactly 8 of these, obviously. Started 2 months ago, and I am so happy with each of my guests. I'm happy with everything I have coming up for you guys in the next couple of months. And this is just so much fun. So this interview and guest today is a little weird because I've never met her. And she left a comment saying that she kind of wanted to interview me. So the tables were turned a bit, and Julie interviewed me today. So we had a great conversation about all kinds of stuff, mom-related, my life, TV shows, my blog. It's a lot of fun. So I hope you follow along with our conversation today. I'd love to hear any of your thoughts about it. And we talk a bit about a CD. And so I want to let you know that on my blog, jamieivey.com, I am giving away a couple of these CDs. So Jimmy McNeil, he is a worship leader at the Austin Stone Community Church. He has a new album, and I have a couple to give away. So all you need to do is go to the blog and leave a comment, jamieivey.com. I want to say a thanks real quick for an iTunes review. She said, I've only listened to 2 this far, but I absolutely love Jamie's Happy Hour. It's an easy listen and makes my drive go by quickly. I find myself wanting to throw in my opinion about all of her topics. This is definitely on my subscription list. Thank you so much. I do the same thing when I'm listening to radio shows. I'm like, no, this is what I think. This is what I would say. So I feel good that it makes you feel that way. Thanks a lot, guys. I'd love it if you subscribed on iTunes or Stitcher. Tell your friends. Making this podcast is so fun. And it's fun because you're listening and you let me know that you're listening. And the most fun is that I have amazing people that I get to talk to. So thanks for listening today. Here's Julie and I as we talk about all things me. Kind of weird, but it is what it is. So thanks, guys. Enjoy. Julie, welcome to the Happy Hour. Okay, this is the most random podcast I've ever done because Julie and I have never met, right?
Nope.
We've never met. Okay, so let me tell everybody what happened and how random this is. So you left a comment on my blog on one of the other podcasts, maybe Wynn's podcast, which Wynn Elder is one of the podcasts, and it's actually Wynn's. Actually, I get so many comments on how much they love it. So if you haven't listened to hers, go back. But I want to read your comment, okay, for everyone to hear. You said, "Hi, Jamie. I don't know how I stumbled upon your blog last year, but I'm glad I did. I'm guessing it's because I became a new mom and found it by randomly looking for tips from other moms, especially in regards to prayer. I have listened to your podcast and I really enjoy them, and now I need to finish Friday Night Lights." And then you said, I have tons of questions for you just about you and your life journey. I'm sure you have tons of friends and ideas, but if you ever run out of guest segments, I would love to come and ask you all the questions I have. It could be a good introduction podcast for newcomers like myself, kind of like an interview of Jamie. You said, I understand that this could be kind of weird considering we have not met, but I think that could be part of the fun too. I would love to meet you beforehand for coffee or lunch if that's more comforting considering my proposal. If anything, let this message be a warm hug via the internet and know you have a random listener that really enjoys your message. Cheers, Julie. So I got that comment and I was like, Aaron, listen to this. So I read it to him and he's like, you're not going to do that, are you? And I was like, I don't know. Like, it sounds kind of interesting. And so I just left you a message back on the blog. I didn't email you because I thought if she really is serious, somehow she'll see this. And you did. And here we are.
I know. It's so fun.
And we've never met until this moment.
Yep.
Okay. So tell me just a little bit about you, Julie Hayes. Who are you?
Gosh, that's a loaded question, right? I guess according to my Twitter feed, I would say I am an adventure capitalist, which means I capitalize on adventure. So,
wow.
I'm always just kind of, I don't know, doing something crazy. As far as like official titles, I'm a wife, a mom, a new mom. I have a little boy just turned 9 months last week. I work Monday through Thursdays at a place where we do finances and business management for a bunch of musicians. And I don't know, I'm kind of always, I love to read. I'm I love radio and just different interviews of people and things, which is kind of what led me into this. And so I guess that's kind of a quick summary of myself.
Okay, that is so fun. You said you love to read. What are you reading right now? I always like to ask people.
I'm reading 2 books right now. One I'm reading called My Reading List by Pat Conroy. Pat Conroy actually wrote a bunch of books. The Great Santini, My Losing Season, The Prince of Tides, and basically he went to military school over on the East Coast. I'm forgetting the name of the place right now, the Citadel. And he just kind of writes, I don't want to say historical fiction. It's kind of like nonfiction and fiction. Like some of it is about his life, but he's gone through some hard times with just depression and stuff. And he's a big reader. And so it's kind of an autobiography of himself. And then I'm also reading another book by Ryan Holiday, who actually lives here in Austin, and it's called The Obstacle is the Way. And it is a book just kind of about how when you face problems in life, instead of getting upset or freaking out, it's more of how you can kind of look at these as opportunities for doors to open and grow. And it's really interesting.
Very cool. So I'm always interested when you say you're reading 2 books at a time, because I don't do that very well. When do you read them? Like you pick one up, read it, put it down, pick another one up, or is like one for the bedside and one for something else?
Well, since I'm a new mom and I'm working, I don't get to read like I would like to. There's not enough time in the world to read, even if you weren't a mother or working. For me, at least that's how I feel. And so The Obstacle is the Way are short essays or short chapters. So it's easy to read, like while you're getting coffee or you're waiting for something. And then the other book, yes, I've been reading it on the bedside, and they have longer chapters, which honestly, I've been reading this since William was like a month old.
No, I understand that.
And so it's actually really refreshing when I hear you and the fact that you have 4 children and you're reading all the time, and then your other friends, I'm like, yes, this is only temporary. At some point, I'll be able to read more.
Let me tell you what happened the other day, Julie. So a lot of my girlfriends, I feel like I have a lot of girlfriends with kids that are like a couple stages behind me, and then some that are a couple stages in front. So there's just all these stages to children. And my kids, just the way it happened, they're all within 4 years. So I feel like we hit these stages and we blaze through them. So all that to say, I took my kids to the pool the other day for the first time this summer. And it was the first time that I sat there and I thought to myself, I could be reading a book right now. Like,
oh, that's nice.
I know my other girlfriends who have to be in the water like an arm's length away from all their kids are just so jealous. But I'm like, y'all, it will happen. But that was the first time that I've ever felt that way. Everyone can touch. There's lifeguards everywhere. Everyone can go do the slide. I mean, it was just like, this is nice.
And what are the ages of your children again? Don't they range from like 5 to 10? Or
I have a 10, 9, 8, and 6.
Okay.
So yeah 4.
Okay.
We're all within 4 years. So it's pretty close.
I have a lot of friends like you. I have a lot of friends that have kids that are older and they've just had babies. And it's a nice little pocket to be in, because I can learn from people that have children that are older of what to do, what not to do. And you can also see that, you know, whatever phase you're in, it won't last forever. And there are good things and struggles within them. And then I see my friends that have just had new babies, and I can tell them, I promise this will pass. You're
like,
breath.
I'm only 9 months ahead of you, and this will pass.
And look at me.
I know. You're alive. You're reading. You're making it. That's so true. So true. I think it's a game changer when the kids start sleeping. I mean, it just changes everything. I have a girlfriend who, her girls have never been good sleepers. And so it's just, she doesn't get good sleep until they're like over a year. And so she's just like a zombie. And I just always feel for her. But I'm like, you know what? No one ever sends a kid to kindergarten that doesn't like sleep through the night. You know, this is going to happen. So You're going to make it. You're going to make it.
And I think that's the hardest part. I mean, everything else, I mean, there were hurdles along the way, but the lack of sleep just compounds everything and anything in your life. I mean, whether you're having a kid or not, or going through something stressful, if you're not sleeping, then for me, it's like it makes everything exponentially harder. And so I would be lying if I didn't say the first month or two, I was like, whoa.
It's so hard.
What happened?
You don't even realize what it does to your body to not sleep. It's crazy. I even say now, if one of my kids gets up middle of the night, I'm like the worst middle of the night mom ever. I lose all compassion. I lose all empathy. All I want is my sleep. And so I'm not good in the middle of the night. I
call myself Cruella de Vil. I imagine that I look like my hair's all over the place. My eyes are big and they're like all bloodshot.
Yeah. Poor kids. They're like, let's go back to bed. Mom's crazy.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's do your thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I had all these questions as I started reading your blog, and then I started listening to your podcast. And obviously, since you took me up on my proposal, because I was just kind of listening and I thought, man, I have all these questions. And I shot that email or that comment on your podcast without even really thinking that you would take me up on it. And it's funny, since then I've read a lot of your blogs and I've learned quite a bit. But I went through my email history and I looked at the day when I started following you, and actually it was January 14th, which was the day after your husband had posted something. I guess you were gone on vacation, but it was called The Mom Problem.
Oh, yes.
And it was your husband basically walking a day in your shoes for several days. And I thought that was I reread it and I thought, man, I need to keep this. I need to print it and keep it in my little journal so I can go back and read it when I'm having those moments throughout this journey of, how exhausting it can be on a day-to-day level. And so that is actually, how I found you. And then of course I've been following your blog since then and read other stuff. But I guess, if I remember correctly, you got quite a bit of comments and feedback from that blog.
Yeah, I was out of town. My girlfriend, Amy, who I interviewed on the very first podcast, we've been best friends since 9th grade. And we always try to get away every year. And so I had gone away, literally like Thursday to Sunday, not very long. And Aaron was at home with all the kids, and he wrote this post for me. And Julie, it went crazy. It was one of the most read. It might be the most read post ever on my blog, which is funny because I didn't even write it. But he did. He just talked about. Well, I'll list the points real quick. It said, number one, he said moms rarely get edification. No one's affirming them, which I felt that way this week. Aaron was just out of town for 7 days. And so I was solo parenting in the summer. And I just told one of the girlfriends the other day, I was like, no one thanks me. I feed them 3 times a day. I make them pie. I take them swimming, and not one kid says thank you. It's what it is being mom. Number 2, he said moms feel stuck. And again, he was saying you do the same thing over and over again, wash dishes, feed kids. You have a baby, you've changed their diaper, feed them, Number 3, he said weeks with dad are fun and weeks with mom are just normal. And I talked about this with my girlfriend yesterday. I was like, here's the deal. Aaron's going to get home tomorrow and he's going to go take them and do something really, really fun. And dad is awesome. And I love that he does that. It's perfect. I love it. But then when it's just me, we're just doing our normal thing, But if I go out of town, Aaron does fun stuff with them, which is awesome. I love it. But he was saying this. Number 4, he said moms have a harder time loving Jesus. And he basically just meant by that is it's just harder for moms to spend time praying, reading their Bible, just because they have all these kids around them.
Well, I would say I don't think it's hard for moms to pray. I think you pray all day, throughout the day. You're like, oh, Lord, let me get through this moment. Or, oh, Lord, please take your hands and bubble wrap my kids so that
they're safe.
Although that's my definition of safe, not his, which
right.
I kind of just terms with that on a regular basis. But I get that when he talks about just the quiet time, the meditation, the moment to just kind of take a deep breath and just stop and think about what's going on.
Yeah.
It's important.
I did something a couple of years ago. My friend Kat Lee runs a blog called Inspired to Action. I don't know if you've read it. If you haven't, you should. She also does an amazing podcast for moms, so I highly recommend it. It's called the Hello Morning Challenge, and I did it a couple years ago, and basically the gist of it is that you're dedicating to be to greet your kids in the morning and be up and ready to parent them rather than them waking you up, which for me is a really, really hard thing because in the summer, I tell my kids, don't wake me up before 8:00 because it's summertime and 2 of my kids are early risers by like 6 a.m. no matter what. And then 2 will sleep late. Da, da, da. But anyhow, I did her challenge, and her challenge is to get up before your kids, spend time with the Lord. She even like wants you to exercise, to do all this stuff so that when your kids wake up, you are ready to parent them. And I did it. And Julie, it was so hard. I mean, it was just hard because I couldn't sleep in. I mean, even so when I get the kids up during the school year, they're up by 6:40. So it was me getting up at like 5:45 and just getting up with a number that starts with a 5. It's just not okay with me.
Well, and what time do your kids go to bed and what time do you go to bed?
Well, that's another thing that she really talks about with her challenge is that you need sleep. And so one of the things you have to sacrifice is you can't be a night owl if you're going to get up before your kids. So my kids during the school year are usually in bed between 7 and 8, all of them. Everyone's probably down by 8. And then all moms understand this. When your kids go to bed, you just want to sit on the couch and veg. Like your brain doesn't work anymore. You don't want to clean. You just want to sit. And so I'll find myself going to bed at like 11, 11:30. But if I'm wise, I'm in bed by 10 or 10:30. But that's hard,
And even then, if you're going to bed at 10 and getting up at 5:30, you're getting like 7.5 hours of sleep. I mean, for myself, I like to try to put in a good 8.
Yeah, I know. But people do it,
Well, I guess. So my husband works in Bastrop and we live in Austin. And so, and a lot of people say, oh my gosh, that commute is horrible, but really there's no traffic. And most people we know spend anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour in a commute anyway. And, where our struggle is with the bedtime and sleep is, and it's not so bad now because he's little, but I can see it in the future. I think he needs to have a consistent bedtime, and a lot of friends I know put their kids in bed around 8 like you guys, but if they don't get home, and my William goes to daycare in Bastrop because it's cheaper and they're way more flexible than Austin, but, they don't get home till 6 o'clock, and so by the time we eat dinner and take a bath, I feel like Monday through Thursday is just a rat race, and I would like to take a minute and just give him a hug and play with them, and, so we kind of push bedtime back a little bit. About 8:30 or 9, and it's, I think it's working out okay now because he sleeps on the way to Bastrop, he sleeps on the way back, and he's getting a good 2-hour nap. But I know as he gets older, I don't know how we'll address that. I'm waiting to kind of cross that bridge as it gets here. I just hate to put him in bed at 8 o'clock, and I feel like I've only had like 30 minutes to kind of be the fun person, right?
Right, or even just be around your kid. I totally get that. I have learned in my motherhood journey over the years, I've been doing this for, 10 years, is that what I think works for my family and is right is not the same for every family, And so it's not fair for me to be like, oh, everyone should have their kids in bed at this time. Now, I mean, I do have some friends that let their kids stay up till all hours of the night, and I don't want that because A, my kids are grouchy the next day, and B, I need some alone time, as I've been with them all day. But I think that's true. Like you have to figure things out what work for your family. Like, for example, my kids, when they all started at this new school, they really thought that one of my kids should be in this after school tutorial program. And he really needed the help. And so we signed him up. But what happened was, that didn't end until 5. And I would normally pick them up at 3:30. So then by the time we got home, it's 5:30. And then if we have dinner, or now my kids play sports, so then we have practice, and then they'd go to bed at 8. And so Aaron and I were like, we see our kids for like 2 hours a day. And so we totally went to the school and be like, we know our kid needs extra help. We know you're offering this for free, but right now our family's more important. And so, I think you just have to do that. You just have to figure out what works well for us and what's best for our family.
And it takes, I've kind of joked with a few of my friends that you go through peer pressure as you're growing up to prepare you for becoming a parent. Because you really have to learn. I know there's been a couple times I've been sensitive to people's comments about various issues. And I've kind of had to just take a step back personally and say, I want to live like people are genuinely trying to help and offer advice that's helped them, but also to not take it so personally and to take in what can help you and then let it go in one ear and out the other that doesn't work for your situation.
Yeah.
And, have been fortunate in the sense that, you know, we're in our early 30s, so we've had a lot of experiences to kind of prepare us for this. But I could see if you're a younger parent how it could be. It takes some thick skin to get used to being able to not so much tell other people, but tell yourself that you're doing what's best for you, your family, and everything else will work itself out like it always does.
I know. And it's like that. I tell people with parenting books. Like, you can't ever, like, get a parenting book and say, this is the law. You know, you take some, you leave some, and there it is.
Well, I got so overwhelmed when I was pregnant with reading everything. I finally told my doctor, you know, people have been having kids for a long time and didn't have all this information and did fine. And this is pretty much what I've told my pediatrician. I'm like, there's a lot of other things I'd rather do and read about. So if I'm doing something wrong, I need you to speak up because I'm not going to read all this stuff.
Because I won't know about it.
Yeah. I'm just going to do trial by fire, you know,
there
to see how it goes.
You're so right. So right.
Well, I'm curious. So in the process of reading information and just kind of doing my research to ask you questions, when did you start writing your blog? I'm not going to lie. One time I sat there and I went through all of your posts, not all of them, trying to figure out when you started your first blog post. And I got to August of 2009.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I clicked through 5 years of stuff, just trying to find out when did you start and what inspired you to start writing a blog?
So I started way before that, actually, which is funny, is because we lived outside of Nashville. Aaron and I moved there before we had kids. And then when we started when we started our adoption process of Deacon, which was in 2005.
Okay.
And so I started it just to kind of keep people up to date, mainly my family that all lived in Texas. And so, you know what? I can't remember the name of my first blog. I was on Blogspot and it was like Ivey Kids or Ivey Family. I don't even remember. So I started that way, and I go back and look at some of the stuff and just die laughing that, you know, it's totally like a baby book kind of, which is awesome. And I need to have it printed because the other day I was looking at it for something, and, my babies, like, we only had Caden and Deacon and they were just babies. And I'm telling you, I just forget how little my 10-year-old was, and he's only 10. But that's when I started that. And then we moved here to Austin, and we were in the adoption process for Amos and Story. And so I blogged through that. And so I would say I just started writing more and more. I would say I started writing more like, not for my reader, but not just so much journaling and baby book stuff, probably after Amos and Story came home. Is where I would say it became more of writing for me. There was a hard year after my kids came home from Haiti. And so I feel like I used it as an outlet a lot and used it as a place to, like, encourage and help other people in the same place as me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I held a lot back because this is a public space and it's my life. So, but yeah, so that's when I started.
Well, and that's another one of the questions I was going to ask. I mean, you really put yourself, in my opinion, it seems like, really put yourself out there on your blog. It's very open. I mean, you've explained that your husband is involved in a rather big church here. And actually, ironically enough, I go to that church. I didn't realize.
You do?
Yeah, I didn't realize who you were by your last name until you had posted a picture. And I was like, oh my God, she's married. I call your husband and his band Coldplay because they remind me of Coldplay when they're performing at church. I'm embarrassed to admit that, but I do. And so I was telling my husband, I was like, this girl's married to Coldplay, who I call Coldplay at church.
That is so funny. You didn't know that?
No, not until when I don't know how I found your blog. I think through Facebook, we probably have mutual friends that know each other, and that's probably how it got posted, just from what I can gather. And so it was several posts later when you had posted a picture about you guys, and that's when I put two and two together. And, for those that don't know, the church it's enormous. I don't even know how many members are a part of the church, but I mean, I actually have two good friends I went to college with, and he is an associate pastor at a rather big church in Dallas. And his wife is sometimes cautious about how much she gets involved and what she says about certain things because it does affect her husband. And as I put two and two together about, where y'all go to church and how big it is, and then as I've been reading your blog, I just have been kind of really impressed at how humble and open and honest you've been. And that was one of the questions I had was, I know you and Aaron have to have discussions about, what do you want to put out there? What do you not want to put out there? I'm guessing a lot of people that go to the church that know about your blog probably read. And so, maybe you can elaborate more on that whole process.
Yeah, that's good. I would say that the number one thing that people say about my blog when they're like, I love it because of this, is that it's vulnerable, that I put myself out there. And so I think I never made a conscious decision to do that. I think it's just, it's easier for me to relate to people when I feel like we're all on the same playing field. And so my thing is like, I'm a messed up person. I need Jesus like daily, all the time. And so for me, just to be vulnerable about that, I feel like that it tears down walls and it helps other people feel like, hey, I am a messed up person. Yes. But there's nothing really wrong with me. I feel like so many times women can carry so much weight and so much burden, either about past sins in their life, current sins, parenting issues, marriage issues. And so for me, I feel like when we just tear down those walls, then we're all in the same playing field. And so it's honestly really easy. This is interesting. And I'm being really vulnerable right now with what I'm about to say. It's really easy for me to be vulnerable behind a computer screen. Okay, so that's just being honest there. It's easy for me, and I don't mind if people know about some of the things in my life. I've been talking with this about a couple of my girlfriends right now. Sitting down with like a small group face to face, that's a little bit harder for me to like be vulnerable in front of someone. And so I would say right now, God's even working in my life about how easy it is for me to be vulnerable behind a computer screen, but to be able to transfer that to real life, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, there's a lot of radio shows personalities that I like, and I find that as a common thread. And there's even other podcasts. I mean, it's way easier to share, things that are going on versus having a face-to-face, more intimate, physical surroundings and have those kind of conversations. And, I mean, it's one of those things like, I mean, my husband and I had looked for several churches in Austin, and we had found the church where you guys go as well. That was one of the things we really liked about it, was how vulnerable everyone appeared to be and the honest discussions. I mean, some of the sermons that we have heard honestly, they've been great, whether we have agreed with them or not, or wanted to add certain things. Just the fact that, I mean, it's gotten us talking, which I think is really important. And I, it makes sense just seeing how the church is and how vulnerable, and how I like that, how you said that, because that's very open, very honest, no appearances, that it goes hand in hand with how you share your story. Yeah. Like, it makes sense. But I know too, I mean, there's a balance when you play a role in a church and you're a family and going through those struggles, and then, how many discussions go on behind the scenes. I mean, not even just, about how much you share about yourself, but I had actually texted my friend earlier this week, and I was like, I'm actually going to be doing an interview with somebody that is married to someone that's very prominent in their church. And I was curious if there were any questions you had, and, or things that you wanted to bring up. And one of them, she said too, was just how much support, like, you had mentioned earlier how Aaron supports you as being a mother, and it's really nice getting that affirmation for him. But, his job isn't like my job or my husband's job, where we go in, we do our work, and we leave. His job is incredibly personal. And sometimes, my friend, she really has to be a huge support system, not only on a personal level, but on a professional level, because of, I mean, it's kind of like therapy. Like, some of the things that get brought to his attention, it's like, I don't know if I'm really equipped to comment on some of these things. Yeah. And so I was curious if, you and Aaron kind of face some of those situations as well.
With like church stuff? Is that what you're asking, kind of? Yeah. Like bringing that home? I would say, like, for me, so when Aaron and I lived in Nashville, he traveled full time in his band, and that was his thing. We weren't on staff at a church. In fact, when we first got married, we were on staff at a church, and I actually never, ever, ever wanted to be on staff at a church again. It just, I didn't have a bad experience, but we were newly married. And as I've shared on my blog, I brought a lot of, not baggage, I just had a very promiscuous lifestyle before I started following Jesus and before I married Aaron. And so I felt as though when I was a pastor's wife before, I felt that defined me a little bit, even though the truth is, I would guess that most people that I knew then didn't even know anything about me because I didn't share it. I didn't feel comfortable. All that to say, I never wanted to be in that position again. I did not want to be a pastor's wife. And so when Aaron started talking to Matt, our pastor at our church, about coming here and being the worship pastor and working, I was just really, really apprehensive about it and frustrated because I don't even like the title pastor's wife. I feel like that brings so much, like, everyone is looking to you for you to be perfect. And so all that to say, I don't feel that at all here. I don't feel any pressure to be anybody that I'm not. Now, I will say, I feel like that maybe there is a little bit of difference between Aaron and I and maybe just someone else. There's more accountability on us is what I'm trying to say, because Aaron leads a church from the stage. And so I feel like there's a lot of accountability on our life and our marriage and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that I do that helps me is just like the way that I am so open about stuff. But I'm also very open about like how much I need Jesus. And I'm open about how much I couldn't do any of this without him. And I'm open about how much he's changed my life. And, you know, I feel like a lot of my parenting is reflective of God's love for me and God's never ending love for me. And God's always pursuing me. Like, it helps me be a better parent. And so I don't know if that answers your question about feeling that pressure. I don't really feel that pressure. Maybe I should.
I think it answers that question. I mean, it's an organic thing. It's constantly changing and growing as you guys are. And, you know, and I guess that, you know, that was always kind of the thing too. So did y'all move to Austin because of the church? Is that how were y'all in the ministry before?
Yeah, that's what we moved here for. We were outside of Nashville, and Aaron traveled full time, leading worship at events. And so we moved here to go on staff at our church, the Austin Stone. So that's what brought us here.
I was wondering if you were going to say the name.
Yes.
I noticed you hadn't said it in the past, so I didn't want to drop it. And then people.
No, you're good.
But hey, maybe it'll bring more people to the Austin Stone. You should come. It's awesome.
Yeah, we really.
Well, how did you meet Aaron? That was another question. I know you had. It's a great place. How did you meet Aaron?
So when we were both in college, and Aaron worked at a church in Sugar Land, Texas, which is right outside of Houston. And I was away at Dallas Baptist University. And so after 2 years, I've shared this on my blog, so I'll share it here. After my last year at Dallas Baptist, I got pregnant and obviously wasn't married. And it was a really, really hard time in my life. And then I had a miscarriage. And so I moved home and, back in home with my parents. You know, I had just been through a really, really hard time back home. And I started going to University of Houston, and that's where Aaron and I met. He was a youth pastor where my brother was in the student ministry. And so we met, but I definitely was not walking with the Lord, was not ready for any kind of relationship. And then a lot of stuff, even more stuff happened in my life, other bad choices. And anyhow, we ended up dating, I guess about a couple of years after I moved back home. And we dated for 1.5 years and then got married. So
okay.
I know what's funny is, I mean, it's such a God thing because really Aaron and I started dating, you know, not long after I really started following the Lord. And so, and I've shared this before, but he's such a sweetheart. Like, Aaron had never kissed a girl before me.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so there was this pure little Aaron, you know, outwardly pure. He always says he had way more sins inwardly, and I had outward sins. And then God just brought us together, like this unlikely combination. And so, and actually Sunday, well, this will air after that, but we'll just had our 13th anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's exciting.
Yes.
So y'all got married then, I guess early 20s.
Yeah, I think I was 23.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 23 and he was 22, almost 23. Yeah. And then we had Caden about 1.5 years 2 years later, something like that.
And then from reading your blogs, so you adopted Amos after, like within a year or two of having Deacon?
So we had Caden, and then when he was 9 months old, we started the adoption process for Deacon, and he came home the next year. So they're 22 months apart. And we had them together for like after. So then we started the adoption process of Amos when him and Deacon, they're like 6 months apart. So they were both 2. And then when Amos came home, he was 4.5. So when Amos came home, I had a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And then Amos came home and he was 4. It was a nutcase. It was crazy around here, Julie.
Well, one of the things I can only imagine, one of the things that I read, because I thought I know some different people that have gone to Haiti for mission work after the hurricane, but one of the things I was kind of surprised to read about, and it actually kind of broke my heart for y'all. I mean, it's worked out okay, but it looked like y'all had gone to Haiti before the earthquake, and then y'all were in the adoption process. And so you didn't really know what was going to happen with Amos because y'all were still in the process of adopting him when the earthquake happened. Is that correct?
That's true. I mean, we had been in the process. He came home. We had been working on getting him home for 2.5 years. And so, well before the earthquake happened, we had been in this process. In fact, I think we'd been through 2 hurricanes there and all kinds of stuff before he came home. Story came home 3 months before Amos. So she was home before the earthquake. And so when the earthquake happened, we were still in the process, and actually we didn't really know. At that point in our process, there was some holdup with his paperwork. We had absolutely no idea when he would come home. And so, the earthquake really brought Amos home. It was a tragic event that happened, and it is something that led to our son coming home, which is a hard pill to swallow. But he came home 10 days later after the earthquake. They had they did a humanitarian parole where all these kids from Haiti that were in the process, like they had to be so far along, they brought them home. And so he actually came home, and adoption is so weird. Like we readopted our kids, Amos and Story, after they came home, just to you change their name and Social Security, all that kind of stuff. And then, but Amos he's still not a citizen. He just got his green card recently. Like it messed up everything, them coming home that way. I mean, it was awesome, but it's funny that he has a green card. Yeah.
Oh, that had to have been so stressful to wake up or hear about the hurricane or the earthquake. And then here you are in the process, and how long did y'all have to wait before you knew that he was physically okay?
The earthquake, it devastated the whole country. It was in Port-au-Prince, and his village, he lived in a place called Cazel, which is by drive about 1.5 hours, 2 hours outside of Port-au-Prince. Miles, it's probably not that far. The lady that runs it, that he was at a place called Real Hope for Haiti, which is an amazing organization that literally saves kids' lives. And I think she emailed us that night.
Okay.
I can't remember. Either she emailed or posted on Facebook. I don't know, but we knew that everybody there was okay. And then it was 10 days later that he came home.
Okay. Yeah. When I was reading through that, I was like, man, I need to look at my dates to make sure I'm getting this right. Cause I thought that has to be so intense. And then you're so far away. It just gives me an anxiety attack thinking about it.
That was a crazy month. The earthquake, those 10 days of we also did a lot of interviews during those days. That was stressful. And we weren't sleeping because we were trying to get him home. And then he got home. And then 7 days later, my mom has a heart attack. It was the craziest month ever. And, it was crazy. And that was 4 years ago, which is crazy too.
It is. So do your parents, do they live in the Houston area still?
They live north of Houston outside of Huntsville.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where is Aaron's family?
They live in Tennessee.
Okay. All right. So y'all are kind of spread apart.
We are. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, and I guess not to make light of all that stuff, but kind of some other things that I've heard you mention, and this is actually kind of ironic too. So you've mentioned a couple times that you started the podcast because you were in radio. And so it's funny, I sent a video to that same radio station that you did.
To be on the morning show?
Yes.
That is so funny.
I'm curious, I think I've had a lot of people talk about doing a podcast. I listen to podcasts myself. And I know you had mentioned that, being in radio is what kind of stirred that whole little nest egg and got that going. What did you want to be in radio before you had applied, or was it just like me, you heard it and you thought, that might be fun, I'll submit a video, and then it kind of grew into something bigger?
Well, I've always said that, like, my dream job would be to be something like, this is so dumb, but like, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a newscaster. Mm-hmm. It's funny. I just had dinner with my friend Erin, who works at a news show here in town. And, I was like, I always wanted to be an anchor because I thought all they did was show up, get their hair and makeup done, and then read a screen. And I thought, what a better job than that. I mean, that's the easiest thing ever. I now know as a grown woman, that's not all they do, but I've always thought it'd be fun to do something where you're talking, and this sounds dumb, but like in the public eye a little bit, like that just always intrigued me and seemed fun. And so I listened to the station. It was KVET here in town. And, so when they said they were looking for a new morning show host to be on with Bob Cole, I was like, this would be so much fun. I mean, I just thought, how much more fun can it be to just sit and chat with people for like 4 hours in the morning? And that's why I did it. Okay.
And so I can't remember when they had the auditions. I think it was was it in January or February?
Yes, it was early in 2011.
And then you quit that summer, right? 7 months
August.
later? Uh-huh. How hard was that? I mean, because, for me, it's not so much that I want to be in the public eye. I get you saying it's not dumb at all when you say you want to be a reporter. I mean, for me, it's more of I would love to be in a format where I could interview or just talk to people that are quote unquote making a difference, like what makes them tick. I think that's one of the reasons I like radio, or even just, news stories. Like I love watching Dan Rather on Access TV when he's doing these interviews with all these classics people that have just been around forever. And so, I know that had to have been hard to quit. I mean, was that just because from a personal standpoint, it's something that gets you motivated, but from what I understand with radio, the hours are brutal. It's not just work for the 4 hours that you're on air. I mean, could you kind of highlight on how much time it took and that process of having to quit and, what happened there?
So working there at the radio station was amazing and wonderful, and I loved it so much. The things that were hard, the hours, I mean, so we went live at 6. On a good day, I would get there by 5:15, but most days like 5:30, because I wasn't in charge of the show or anything. But we went live at 6 and we were on till 10. And then after that, you do all your pre-recording for the next day. You do all your commercials, your ad spots, and then you plan the next day. So I would usually be there from like 5:15, 5:30 till noon, 12:30, if it was like, if I had something, I could get out of there sooner. So as far as that go, the hours, I mean, it is amazing because you're out so early. And I loved it so much. I want to clarify too, when I said like to be in the public eye, that sounds so, like, hey, everybody look at me. What it is for me is just to have a voice. I love to have a voice. I love to be able to encourage people and be in people's lives like that. And so that's something that my blog has done for me. But I even felt it more when I was on the radio. Like I felt like I had a voice that could spread truth. I felt like I had a voice that could be encouraging. I just felt like I liked having a voice. And so when I decided that I was going to leave, that's really what I missed the most, was this voice of being able to do that. And that's what made me want to do a podcast, because it's mine and I can do it however I want, and I give a voice. But quitting, so what happened is it had only been a year that my kids had been home, Amos and Story. And like I said, that first year was really hard, just emotionally and everything. Just adding 2 kids to the family that have been hurt. And by hurt, I just mean Amos didn't have a mom and dad for 4 years. I mean, that is a lot of trauma. And so bringing that in, it was just a hard year.
Mm-hmm. So, and just to clarify, you brought them home at the beginning of when did you bring them home in 2000? What time? Like January. At the beginning of January. Okay, so it really had just been a year. Okay.
So then when I applied for the job and sent in my demo, I honestly never thought I would win. Like, honestly.
Oh, no, who does?
I know. No, it never entered my mind that I thought I would win. And then it just kept going and going and going. And I remember Aaron and I went to dinner, and it was when I was in like the top 10. He's like, hey, we need to talk about this, because I haven't worked outside of the home, I mean, since we had kids. And here I am.
He's like, hey, babe, hold on a second.
Exactly.
Like, you're going to be working?
What are we doing here? And who's taking care of the children?
He's like, whoa.
Exactly.
I supported you, but now that this might happen, like, let's seriously talk about the logistics.
Exactly. That was it, the logistics. I mean, it was just crazy. And so I ended up winning. It's just crazy that even happened. And so basically, I have some amazing friends that I hired and paid to be with my kids. And so during the school year, Aaron would take them to school, well, the ones that were in school, and then somebody else would stay with them. And so then the summer hit, and Aaron traveled a lot in the summer. And so I would have someone show up at my house at 5:15 so I could leave. And then they would do breakfast and get up with them and do a lot of fun stuff. And then I would get home at 1 o'clock and be exhausted. And then I wasn't a very good mom. And it was really hard on Amos, just having a new person there every morning, and then me not being there and Aaron out of town. All of that combined was like just a disaster. And so I loved being on the radio. I loved it, but it was killing my family. And so I remember Aaron and I just had to make a decision. I mean, I brought it up to him. I mean, it was killing my marriage. It was killing my parenting. I was a really bad mom. Amos was struggling big time. Story, that was the worst. Three for her nearly put me in the grave. And that was her third, that she was 3. And it was just a bunch of stuff that we felt like the only thing that had changed was that I was now working. And so we felt like maybe we need to pull back on that. And so, that was really hard on a lot of levels. Number one was I had to really fight the feeling of like, geez, I'm finally doing something that I really love, and I really feel as though I'm good at it. And now I have to pull back because of my kids. And so that was a hard mom moment, because I love my kids. I would die for them. Obviously, I quit something I love for them, but it was just something that I had to take to God and be like, you know what? These kids are way more important than me feeling like this. And so I know some people might disagree with that, but it was what worked for our family. So quitting was really hard. A, because I was quitting. And B, some people were brutal to me, Julie. I mean, the emails that I got, the calls that came in, a lot of people were just pissed, and they're like, did you not think about this before you took this job away from other people that were applying? And that was a hard pill to swallow, because of course I thought about it, but just our circumstances at home were different, and it didn't work out. So, But when I look back, and the people that I worked with on that morning show, they've all since left, and they have a brand new show here in town called Coke, Koke.
Yeah, because that was kind of one of the things I was going to bring up. I think in some ways it worked out good, because they were a member of Clear Channel. Mm-hmm. And Clear Channel is, I mean, for people that don't know, they are the game player in terrestrial radio, and they are very corporate and very ratings driven. And I can only imagine, I mean, because Bob was off the show that year.
Yeah. I mean, he left in December.
You left.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have.
Eric left before Bob did. Mm-hmm. And then Bob, quote unquote, left at the end of the year. I mean, so actually looking back, I wouldn't have been there much longer. I wouldn't have stayed without them, and I mean, they were really amazing for me and really helped me. And I love those guys. They were great guys to work with. And so then they started Coke about a year later, and we talked about me coming back over there, and it just didn't work out logistically, but I love what they're doing. I mean, I always say, if I could be on the radio and take my kids to school, I would do it in a heartbeat, but that just doesn't work. They usually want you there in the morning.
Yeah, well, and I get it. That's the prime time when people are in their car and they're listening. But I think with time, things are changing. And I think the podcast arena is a lot more friendlier and not as ratings driven as radio is. I think they're in a good spot because they don't have to play the game per se. No. But I think you're in a sweet spot with your podcast. And honestly, they're kind of like your blog. I mean, you never know when you may have a guest or touch on something and it blows up. And next thing you know, I mean, you could you could be making money off your podcast.
Looky there, Julie.
I mean, it
ding, ding,
happens.
ding, ding.
It happens.
I loved you. And the reason I love doing podcasts, because I loved the radio and I love talking to people and I love hearing, my favorite thing about this so far is just like other people sharing their stories. Like I know I'm talking a lot about me this time because that was the point of it, but most of the time it's other people sharing their life with people. And I love that so much. And you know, what's funny, this is interesting. I'd like to ask, I see what you and your friends think. Most friends that I know do not listen to podcasts.
Yeah, mine are very separate. Like they either know about it or they don't.
In fact, you're right. Some of mine they were even like, I don't even know what a podcast is.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, what? Because I have been listening to podcasts for a while. I like to listen to them when I work out. It's just like, it's easy for me. But if anyone listens to sermons online, they're basically listening to a podcast.
Mm-hmm. They just don't realize what it is. They just don't
know it. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been listening to radio forever. And honestly, if I could go back to college and change my major, I would have done communications and gotten an internship because I've applied for several internships. You just have to be a literal student. I'm like, hey, I'm still a student. I go to the University called Life.
Yes. Hello.
Like, I'm giving you free work here.
Exactly.
Hello.
Taking up on it.
And, so, you know, it's very interesting and it's funny just kind of watching how everything's changing, obviously, with the internet. It's not even radio. I mean, it's even TV. I mean, I know like with the late night shows with the Jimmy Wars going on right now and, you know, a lot of them don't necessarily get views per se when their show is on air at 10:30. They get views from their videos the next day. Like those Brian Williams tapes that they cut up to all those raps have me rolling on the floor because he's so serious. And then he's sitting there doing Baby Got Back.
Gosh, it's just so funny. I die.
And so, you know, I think this whole podcast, I mean, the internet's obviously, everything's changing, you know, change is inevitable, but it'll be interesting to see where this whole podcast goes in general for people, where it makes money. I think it also gives you more freedom, like where you don't have to be somewhere every day from 6 to 10, you know, that you can do it on the hours that you're available. You can, you know, if you want to do like something that you do every week, or every day. I mean, it's just, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch you grow. I love watching shows or starting something when it's small and watching them as they progress. So I'm excited to see where your journey goes.
I'm excited too.
Okay. So, I know there's a couple things on a lighter note to hit on some of the stuff that you talked about. Okay. So I know that you just got through watching Friday Night Lights and that you're currently watching House of Cards when you can.
Yes.
We haven't been able to get into that one as much. We've watched it here and there, but then again, that goes back to the baby thing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about, okay, so I have 3 TV series that are, I mean, they're good. They're great. I think they are something that at some point I'm probably going to make my kid watch, bless his heart, mainly because of the discussion it'll bring up. And so I'm curious if you have seen The Wire or 6 Feet Under or Breaking Bad.
Okay, so The Wire, no. 6 Feet Under, I know what it is, but no, I never watched it. Breaking Bad, I tried. Like I think I tried last summer when Aaron was gone maybe, and I think I watched 3 episodes and nothing in it made me want to come back for more. And I even watched it, a lot of times shows help when you can like binge watch them and watch them back to back. I still had no desire to watch the next one. So I didn't do that well. Did you watch it?
Well, so Breaking Bad, we had the exact same experience. We had tried to watch it several years ago, and we watched probably like you, the first 3 or 4 episodes, and we were like, wah, wah, you know, like it just wasn't drawing any attention to us. But then I had known a couple people that didn't watch television shows and had somehow started watching this one, and they could not quit talking about it towards the end. And it was it had huge ratings. I think that was one of the biggest watch finale forever. That. And so I remember thinking, you know, maybe there's a little more to this than we can see. And when I say I may make my kid watch at some point, this will obviously be when he's a teenager and an older adult and can handle some of the content, because it's not very, some of the language is questionable, and it's not incredibly sexual as far as I can't even think of anything, but it is an incredible story. And I'm so glad we watched it because it's mainly one of those, like, it brings up such great questions about morality and ethics and where do you draw the line in the sand. And, you know, the main guy gets cancer and starts selling drugs to fund his treatment because he can't afford it. And he's a teacher, which I think that is an issue in itself, how we as a country view education, how we, teachers, just like moms, they don't get nearly half the credit that they deserve. And it's also in mid-America. It's not in Washington, D.C. or New York or L.A. It's in a regular old town.
Yes.
These people are just working hard, getting up every day and, putting their time in. And it's one of those when you first start, you think, I can understand that. I could see where if I got cancer, maybe I would start doing something questionable, like maybe selling drugs to fund it because I wouldn't want to leave my kids stranded or my husband. And then on top of that, they obviously don't want me to die, so they're willing to go through everything. But that's the whole point, is you can't just sell drugs, like all these things. Like I would say give it 2 seasons and don't binge watch it if you can. Like maybe watch an episode here or there, but you'll get sucked in.
So you're telling me I need to give this another try? Yes,
just give it. I'm telling you, Jamie, that last season, me and my husband.
Okay, how many seasons are there?
Oh, I don't know if there's 5 or 6.
Okay, that's a lot of TV.
Yeah, okay. I can't binge watch. I never could like that just because I work and
I get sucked in.
But
okay, well, on your recommendation, I might give it another try.
It's just a great. The ending, we almost called into work because we were like, we got to finish this. And I was like, no, we got to feed our kid, man.
We got to be responsible.
It's one thing if we're under the bridge, but we can't take our kid under the bridge. Like those days are behind us.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, I was like that with Friday Night Lights. I tried Friday Night Lights several times, and I love football. I love all that, and I couldn't do it. And then finally I gave in, and of course I loved it. So sometimes it takes more than 3 episodes.
I watched that one on TV, and then somewhere in the midst of all that, I got lost. Probably because my husband didn't watch it.
Yeah.
So there are some shows he doesn't watch that I have to kind of do on my own, and so that can make it kind of challenging.
It makes it hard.
Okay, well, just to kind of keep the theme with what you do on a regular weekly basis with people that you talk to, what books are you reading now?
Oh, right now I'm reading Divergent. I never read that. Did you read it?
No, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, so I am reading Divergent, and then I'm waiting for Caden, my son, to finish the second Harry Potter book, because I read the first one in Mexico, and I'm dying to read it. Did you ever read these books?
No, and that's funny. When y'all were talking about how you hadn't read them, I was like, me neither.
Yeah, I feel like so many of my friends did, but I never did. So I'm reading Divergent. I'm hoping to finish it this weekend because I'm going to the beach and I like to start a new book at the beach, which I don't even know what I'll start. I don't know.
Yeah, that's hard. There's so many good books out there. I have so many I keep a little list in my phone, and it's funny, as y'all have been marketing things, I'm like up to 40 something books to read, and I'm like, gosh, where can I get a job that I just get paid to read these?
Can I just read books? Yeah. I know. Well, have you heard of Goodreads? Mm-mm. Okay, it's just like I don't even know how to explain it except for you can create an account and then you can keep track of books. So I keep all the books that I've read in there. It helps me, if someone's like, hey, what should I read? I can just go back and look at some of the books I've read. You can rate them. I have a list of 600 books to read. And so literally if I'm at the library, I can just pull it and be like, oh, here's something I wanted to read, and there you go. Yeah. So
good idea.
Goodreads is where I keep it all. I'm about to start a book called Girls Like Us, which, since you live in Austin, you're welcome to join me for this. It's a book. It's called Fighting for a World Where Girls Are Not for Sale. An activist finds her calling and heals herself. So I've been getting involved a little bit with sex trafficking here in Austin.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I've noticed that on your last couple of blogs, and like you, it's almost, when I read those, it tugs at my heart, and I think, I don't even want to know.
Oh,
but then it's that's just putting your head in the sand, and that's, you can have action by having no action, and then nothing changes, right?
Yeah.
And so I just am shocked to hear that is going on so heavily here in Austin.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm barely got my toe in the sand. I mean, literally, I'm just like not hiding from it, not saying I don't want to know about it, but I am taking it slow. I mean, it's a big thing. And so this book is written by a girl who was rescued out of sex trafficking. And so she writes it. Anyhow, I'm doing a little book club here in Austin. So we're all reading it and then coming to my house to discuss it. I'll email you later about it. You're welcome to come.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun. So one of my favorite podcasts that you've done was with Jessica, is it Honegger?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and her and Wynn, because that's another, aside from reading up on you, I've been reading up a lot on Noonday Collection. I mean, what an awesome organization. I love the whole, like, okay, so I want to host a trunk show.
Oh,
I'm going to have to wait a little bit.
I'm going to have to send you some people now that you said it on air. They'll be calling you.
I mean, I hate to jump in. Okay, so part of my venture capitalism to some extent is I get really excited about something and then it's like, oh, I can do this. And then something else comes along and then all of a sudden I have all these projects going on. And part of me is like, I hate to do a trunk show because what if I really want to do this and it goes into the ambassadorship? But I'm not a big accessory person. I just wear earrings. But I have tons of friends that are, and they're so fashionable. And I mean, how cool is it to buy something that helps another woman make money and helps a kid with their foster and hopefully adoption placement, and it's for profit? I mean, that is like, I mean, you're tackling, like, you know, they say kill two birds with one stone. It's more like you're killing four. I mean, it's amazing. Like, what a great, I mean, when she was saying that, it's kind of like watching Shark Tank. I was like, why didn't I think of this?
Jessica's amazing, and she has this mind for fashion and for business, and so she really put those together, and it works. You should really host a trunk show. It's a lot of fun. I think you earn jewelry out of it, is what I think. Don't quote me on that. I think so. And you never know, maybe you'll be an ambassador.
I was so impressed with that. I mean, I can already tell my family for when they listen that if they're female, they will be getting something from them for the holidays.
See, it's so good. And you know, they do a really good job with having sales also. I mean, they have great sales on stuff, and then you can get stuff even cheaper. Okay. Well,
Jamie, this has been really fun. Like, I've never done anything like this. And so you kind of gave me a minute to, live out a little dream of mine of getting to interview someone and talk to them and get to know their story.
It's so fun. You did a great job too.
Oh, thank you.
You really did.
I was nervous.
Okay. So now that I know that we go to the same church, which campus do you go to?
Downtown.
AM or PM?
AM.
That's when I go.
We used to go at 9 and we still try to go, but it's been hard since we've had William with the whole sleep and everything. And
you'll have to check out in the fall. We're starting some women's ministry stuff.
Yeah, no, well, and it's funny, you know, we've invited a bunch of people to church. That's always interesting, you know, when you're talking to your friends and like, for me, I just kind of talk more about how much, I mean, we've really enjoyed it. I mean, it's just, there's been some phenomenal discussions that have come out of it. And I'm from East Texas, and I think that's kind of funny that Matt's from East Texas, and he's kind of like the head pastor. And so we've invited a lot of friends, and it's not a traditional church setting, which is always kind of fun preparing people.
Well, especially when you have Coldplay up there playing.
Yeah, well, that's how I describe them. Like, y'all, the music is so good. The music is so, I mean, and even the black guy, Jimmy, I mean, he reminds me of Whitney Houston. It's like if you hear his music and you don't see him, you think he's like bent over, putting out these great notes. And then when you see him, he's like, does it so effortlessly. It's like he's blaring out these notes and eating a donut at the same time.
That's
it just
so
comes
funny.
out.
Do you have his new CD, Jimmy's?
Well, you know, it's funny. You had mentioned that in one of your podcasts or your blogs. And because I saw that Aaron and them had put out a new CD. And I was like, finally, they're going to put out some of these songs that I've been, you know, recording on my voice memo so I can listen to. And then they didn't put out one of Jimmy's. I was like, Amazing Grace, I think. I love that. Or This Is Amazing Grace. And I was just so bummed. I was like, gosh, you know. And then I saw that and I was like, haha, I found it.
Yay.
So, yeah, I downloaded a CD and also in support of their musical stuff because I know it's hard being a musician.
It is. It is. And they're about to have a baby, too, him and his wife.
Oh, that's exciting. Didn't they just get married recently?
They will have a baby within a year.
Yeah, good for them. That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's fun. Tell them to get through those first couple months and then hang in there. It's
right?
When you hit that 5-month mark, you're like, oh, I can do it. And then you can enjoy yourself. You laugh.
It's so fun. Okay, well, we'll have to meet each other in person.
Yes, absolutely. Well, this has been really fun.
Thanks so much. I am so glad I took you up on your offer. It was
fun. I am too.
To learn about you and share, and it was a lot of fun.
I was nervous. So
no need to be nervous on the happy hour.
Well, since I hadn't met you, I thought she's going to think I'm crazy.
Oh no! From one
so, do you have a bunch of people lined up for the future? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, I've just emailed a bunch of my friends. Like coming up soon is my friend Janet Reeves, who goes to the Stone. Her husband used to play in Chris Tomlin's band, and she does works in kids there, and they do a lot with a mission in Mexico, and she does stuff with sex trafficking. So she's coming up. She has 4 kids. And then my friend Ashley Benson's coming up, and she's a Pilates instructor in Nashville, and just does a lot with like eating healthy and exercise. And so she's coming on. And then Melanie Schenkel is coming on in a couple weeks, and she is an author. She lives down the road from us, but she wrote Sparkly Green Earrings and Antelope in the Living Room. Super funny. And she runs a blog also that probably most of you have heard about it. Big Mama.
Okay.
Yeah. And so.
Are you going to write a book?
You know, I am working on a book.
Good for you.
I mean, it's weird to say that, but I am. Slowly but surely. Okay, Julie, so fun.
This was fun. I had a great time.
It was so fun. It was like putting me on the other side, and
fun. Well, hopefully I'll see you at church. I'll keep my eye out for you now that I know what you look like. And I'm guessing you have my email, or
I do.
I've never done Skype, so eventually I'll see you. But if you ever run out of guests, or I don't know,
I'm coming to you.
Yeah, I'll help however I can.
Hey, and you should start your own podcast if you want to.
I thought about that. I just don't. I mean, what would I do? I mean, I just want to talk about everything, so I don't really have a focus. I need a direction.
Me neither. There's no focus with this happy hour. You can tell we're just all over the place.
Well, and I love that idea, happy hour. I mean, when I was following your blog, and then when I saw it, I thought, man, this is great. This is good stuff. And then you can talk about whatever.
Yeah, so just like if you were at a happy hour.
Rally my troops.
I know.
So
fun. Well, let me know.
Do you have some friends that are like, no way, Jamie, I'm not doing that?
No one's told me no.
Everyone on here has been incredibly empowering and enthusiastic about life and positive. And I think it's really nice to hear that, and to hear that. I mean, I don't mean this bad, and I'm sure you can relate. Just being a mom, sometimes you feel like you've just lost some of yourself, of just the freedom and the flexibility to kind of do something for yourself. And so it's just been so refreshing to hear these other moms, and they have other things going on. And I know all moms, they do this. I mean, I see my mother, my grandmother, my aunts, but still it's just nice to hear it and get it reinforced. And you're, kind of like, girl power.
I love it. I am really blessed with a lot of like awesome friends doing awesome things. And so it makes this easy to talk about all they're doing. So, and it's fun.
Well, good deal.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Good luck to you. You got a fan. And if you post this, I'll put it on my Facebook, so maybe you can get some more followers. And if you don't, that's okay too. It won't hurt my feelings.
It's going to be posted.
Cool. Well, I'm excited.
It went well. You weren't a crazy person.
I'm not crazy in the context of you've never met me and this person may show up at my house. I've been told I've been crazy in other ways.
Okay, a good crazy, not a psycho crazy.
Yeah, no.
So fun. Okay, Julie, thanks so much. It was fun, and I'll see you around at church.
Thank you.
Top of the world, it's time to say that he made it. He made it.